Hey, good morning, everyone. Um, I wanted to take some time to go over some of the important things that we will be covering today in Block 3. Uh, I believe it's easier if we look at it and go over it as a group. Okay, so one of the important things, and we kind of touched on this a few times actually, is that if we let the kids run wild with Revit, they won't quit. They'll just run with it. So it's very important for us to make sure that we put a time limit on each of the things. Revit's going to be a tool only. All right, so the first thing we're going to look at today is estimating the cost for concrete pad. Now I'm going to briefly go over this. These are the notes for it. And it starts with, of course, um, the uses for concrete and how much the concrete will cost and cost estimate. Here you see some finishers in there raking the concrete. Okay, so typical form for a concrete pad or foundation actually doesn't look all that great as far as the construction and the subgrade. I would totally um, fail this and have the contractor start over. I don't see a stone base, so as far as I'm concerned, that would fail. All right, so reinforcing bar, rebar. There's all different size rebars. Being able to read a rebar plan takes a lot of experience, a lot of time. So um, here we see walls right up in here. Whoop, let's go back. Here we see the pad, but I want to go back and show you how um, here are the rebar coming up out of the foundation. Okay, so the reason for that is because the wall and the foundation are going to be tied together. So our rebar is going to be pinned to one of the structural elements. Concrete is sold by volume and measured in cubic yards. Okay, cubic yards. That's how you order it. Um, the There's the conversion, right? So if we have a pad that's 16 by 18 by 4 inches thick, it is not 16 times 18 times 4. And that's a common mistake that doesn't only happen with students, it also happens with uh, professionals if they if they hurry and don't take the time. So estimating the cost of a pad, like we said, concrete is typically sold in increments of half yards, half a cubic yard. I guess for residential, for commercial, it's definitely to a cubic yard. Um, we don't buy concrete in increments of a half yard. But for the purposes of this demonstration, that's what we're going to do. So here we have $98 a cubic yard. And listen, the cost of concrete is going to vary from location to location. Also, during time periods when things are really busy, you're going to see concrete go up, and it's also part of the bidding process. Okay, so in estimating the cost of the pad, um, we have to take into account the rebar. So the rebar is placed every 2 feet on a grid. Okay, and here we have There it is, every 2 feet. And it is sold in 10-foot lengths, and it must be lapped 6 inches. There's a 6 inch overlap, and this is tied with steel wire that's used for that purpose. And we have to maintain a 3 inch distance from uh, from the forms. We have to maintain that distance. Okay, so here we go to estimating the cost of the pad. So here we have 19 10-foot bars, and you can see these are full 10-foot bars. And then we see where we have 9 8-footers, 10 6-foot bars, and then it wants to know how many 10-foot pieces of rebar are needed for this 18 by 16-foot pad. Okay, so the kids have at first they're frustrated by this. However, afterwards they find it to be a competition to see who gets it correct. And then we would count up and find out that indeed there are 38 bars needed. Again, for this exercise, we're using the number 4 bar, and later on, I'm gonna go over how the bars are represented as far as the number value. So here, the cost is $4.78. And if we have 38 of those times $4.78, that's $181.64. Now, again, rebar, like concrete, the price is going to vary. Whoops. So far we have the price of the concrete and the price of the rebar. However, there is something else that is missing. Okay, as I said before, the reason why I would fail those slabs is because the sub base, there is no sub base. It's just the dirt is totally disturbed. It didn't look compacted. There was no stone put down or gravel. The forms were shoddy construction. So the forms are what hold the concrete in. So you also have to take into account the forms, and in an effort to make to give you an idea of how I go over this with the kids, this is a quick quick video to help you out with that. Today, when I was doing bid estimates, everything was by hand, and it was intensive. Today, there are so many cost estimating software packages that it makes it so much easier. Okay, so I did it both for consulting engineers, Penn Dot, Arizona Dot, New York Dot, Delaware Dot. I think those are the only dots I worked for. And then for a contractor, of course. So that's what we do our estimating with. Okay, so your activity for this, and this is the same activity we do with the kids, is you're going to do an estimate of this. This one is 16 by 12. Again, here's your specifications. Rebar should be placed 24 inches apart to form a grid pattern. The rebar comes in 10-foot sections, 6-inch overlap, and 3-inch distance. Okay, now here come the other things. So we have, this is what I was saying about some of the other items that were neglected in that PowerPoint. So you're going to have to take the cost of the forms into consideration when you do this assignment. Okay, so we have 2-inch, 2x6 by 12 feet and a 2x6 by 16 feet. Now, pretty easy to find that by just doing some research. Okay, and now we get into the okay. Now we're going to get into the here's our whoop the shed estimate. Okay, so for that we have we're going to put, let's get our shed estimate. So this is what we're going to be using for the shed estimate. We're going to use this Excel file. And you can see that this is where you're going to put your concrete pad that you just went through. Then we have studs for the walls, partial studs, and I'm going to show you how you find all that. Okay. Here are all the different items that you're going to have to find. And you're like looking at me and saying, Kaz, okay, so how am I going to find all this? Okay, no problem. So how we're going to do that is we have, let me get rid of that. We're going to look at our example utility shed drawing, okay, which is right here. And from this, you should be able to count. Actually, there's two. So we have this one, and this shows you the 12 by 16. It also shows you this height, which is very important. You're going to need that. And wow, this is what you did yesterday as far as roof pitch. So if you didn't get that yet, you might want to go ahead and do it. Um, Here, this is an excellent, excellent detail of a wall and roof. This is what we were talking about yesterday. And this is what I expect from my students when they do their wall section, wall detail. All right. So this is where, you're gonna use these two to be able to come up with all of these estimates. And that's what that is, the building material estimate. And and then activity 2.2 is the shed cost estimate, um, which I just opened. Okay, so uh, that's about that. As far as residential concrete estimation, you can use the optional 2.3.5B residential concrete estimation uh, to reinforce the development of cost estimates. Okay. And then later we're going to get into into universal design and the principles of universal design. Universal design is exactly what it means. It's designed with the intention of fitting everybody's needs. We're going to go into ADA and ABA accessibility guidelines, and then introduction to building codes, international residential codes, and residential code requirements, which is cumbersome as all get out. And then we're going to go through and if you don't know what BIM is, it's building information mapping. We're going to go through and we're going to look at the different walls and such um, that we're going to do. So let me drop And at this point, sorry, let's go to your turn, okay? And um, it says you're going to read this green building and sustainable design. I don't know why it's at the top of the page when well, I guess because that's going to be the last thing that we've covered. Now, here's the thing. So we have what's called LEAP Community Guide, and if you go here, you'll see a whole rundown on how you can find different things in the community. So use the community tool, right? You can request, um, you can submit a request using this. If you put in a topic, you'll be able to search it. Okay, and then that'll give you the different videos that you can find. All right, let's go to the next. Let's go to the next thing you're going to do. Okay, so here it says create a 3D architectural model that reflects your affordable home floor plan using an 8-foot wall height and typical wood frame residential construction. This doesn't have to include a roof or floor or foundation. This is just so um, we can add doors and windows for this. Now, talking about the different video components, you're going to be watching this. This is why they give you 90 minutes to do this assignment. So, what you're going to do is you'll be taking a screenshot of um, of your door schedule and add it to submission form 3. So when you do this and you add your doors, it says using Revit, add doors to your affordable home model and create a door schedule. For assistance, view the video components in door schedules in Revit doors, which is this, okay? So, and then for here, is there a special type of door or window you would like to add to your 3D affordable home model? Well, if you ask the students, hell yeah, they do. So um, this will show you how to use Revit City to load additional components into the families in your Revit drawings. So um, now that we've covered doors and how to load doors from Revit City, you do the same thing with windows. So using Revit, add windows to your affordable home model. Remember, this is, do not go crazy with this because this is not the approved one that you've built for your client. So this is the one based on your floor plan. So then you're going to take another screenshot of your window schedule and add it to Form 3. And then you're going to meet with your client to share the floor plan design you modeled in Revit. Okay. And then um, when we go through to ensure compliance, we're going to look at new construction guidelines. Here you have residential codes. Okay, it tells you, um, you know, the habitable space and doorways. Okay, it gives you the ceiling heights, minimums, uh, toilet things of that nature. Okay, so there is that. I want to find what I just did. Okay, so here's our new construction guidelines. This is specific to Habitat for Humanity, and um, here we have. This means we'll seek to avoid the creeping affluence. Okay, this is to keep the costs to the acceptable levels. And you can see the size of the house, maximum 2 bedroom is 900 square feet, 3 bedroom is 1,070 square feet, and for a 4 bedroom, you have 1,230. Crawl space, if you want, is 4 foot deep, although slab on grade construction or full partial basements may be required. Now, for the purposes of this, probably easier to go with a um, slab on grade. If used, exterior wood frame wall construction will consist of fully sheeted 2x6 construction, and it gives you your roof pitch and roof construction. Um, your all hallways will be minimum 42 minimum inch frames. Remember, this is meant to be for a universal design. Okay, and you're going to be experts on that after today. This gives you everything you need to know as far as the Habitat for Humanity um, new new construction guidelines. All right, and then in the community post, you will put, how can you encourage students to include design features that, according to the Center for Universal Design, provides a product and environment that is usable by all people, which is what universal design is. And then what additional resources can you provide students who are struggling with Revit and Revit woes? Well, you just saw some. There's a ton of videos everywhere, including on YouTube and such. So I hope this helps as you're working on your own to be able to get this assignment completed. Um, Jason and I are here if you need us. Um, but I just wanted to give you a quick rundown on how I go over things with my children, my children, my high school students, and how I can get them to best understand what I want to do. All right, so that concludes this video. I hope you get some help from it. Thank you for listening.